Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. Do you guys want to see my 200 series Toyota Land Cruiser? That's not a Land Cruiser. No, it's not. This is actually an LX 570 from Lexus. So this is a vehicle I bought a little while ago. This is gonna kind of be a rambling video. I'm gonna get into the LX in a bit, talk about it, some features, a few of the modifications I made, but let's give a little bit of a rambling backstory. I'll put chapters in this video as well down below. You can click them. I'll also link to stuff that I talk about in this video down below over here. YouTube kind of hides this from you now. It's a tiny little arrow over in this corner here, and you can click that and it'll expand, and then I have links to everything if you ever want to find anything. So the Lexus LX 570. Mike, why'd you get a Lexus? Aren't you a Toyota guy? Well, I don't think I'm a Toyota guy. I like anything. Like I got a big Ford. I got a ProMaster right here. By the time you watch this video, I'll have a Sprinter, Mercedes 4x4, which I'll talk more about later. But no, I'm not really a Toyota guy. I do like Toyotas. I have a Tacoma that a lot of you guys know me for, and I love my Land Cruisers. I have an 80 series right here, the brown one, the Poop Cruiser, and I have a 60 series as well. Videos coming up on some modifications to both of those, but I was searching for just a bomb-proof, solid daily driver that was kind of an SUV, one that also Ashley could drive if she needed, have some more seating and stuff like that. So I was searching for either a 100 series or a 200 series Land Cruiser to kind of round out my Land Cruiser collection. In that search, most people also search for the Lexus variant of it. So for people that don't know, I think this is pretty common knowledge, but Lexus and Toyota are basically the same company. And some of the platforms are kind of shared, and it even gets kind of muddy going into different countries and regions and zones or whatever. But for a long time, since the 80 series Land Cruiser, basically, Lexus has made their version of the Land Cruiser, and that was called the LX. The current edition, well actually the current edition that isn't available in the US quite yet is the LX 600. That one's the brand spanking new, and the Toyota 300 series Land Cruiser. But from 2018 to 2021 basically was the LX 570. This one is a 2010. So for that same year stretch, we had the 200 series Land Cruiser. This is, for all intents and purposes, a 200 series Land Cruiser. This is a J201 instead of the J200. So, a Land Cruiser. I'm going to talk about some of the differences between an LX 570 and a Land Cruiser. But for the most part, they're the same. They're the same engine. They're the same frame. They're the same drivetrain. They're the same body. They're the same interior, basically. They're the same size, wheelbase. They're pretty much the same. Lexus tosses a few more luxury features on there, supposedly a little nicer leather, a little more sound dampening, and the big difference really is a little bit of styling. The styling becomes more different in the newer model years. This is a 2010, so at this point the styling was much closer. But also one of the main things, the main difference is this one has, instead of the KDSS system of a Land Cruiser, this one has a much more advanced hydraulic lift leveling control system called AHC, typically auto height control, and that is a hydraulic system that can raise or lower the vehicle, helps keep the vehicle level when you're towing with it or when you're braking or when you're turning around corners. So it's a super advanced system, and it's really, really, really nice. Some people don't understand the system. They think it's like an air ride or it's gonna go whatever. It's very robust. It's kind of tried and true. Anyway, it's a better system in some ways than the Land Cruiser, though it's not as simple, and people like the Land Cruiser because it's simple. The other thing that the Lexus has is a couple more like power features and a little better sound system. So basically what you have, it doesn't say Land Cruiser, it doesn't have the Toyota on the front, which is a bummer because really, again, I'm a Land Cruiser guy and I would have chosen the Land Cruiser over the LX. So why, Mike, why did you get an LX 570 instead of a 200 series Land Cruiser? And that question comes down to a couple of things. One is budget. LX 570s for same mileage, same year, like same equipment, will be cheaper than the Toyota Land Cruiser. It's kind of crazy. If you're not like into the Land Cruiser world, you're just kind of like, what? That doesn't really make sense. They both hold their value really well because they're both basically the same car. But there were more Lexuses made. And the LX 570 doesn't really carry the nameplate and the heritage maybe of the Land Cruiser, even though again, they're pretty much the same vehicle. So anyway, all that goes to say that you can get an LX 570 for cheaper. So price was a factor for me when buying another vehicle that I didn't really need to add to the fleet. So I got this for a few $1,000s cheaper than what would be an equivalent Toyota Land Cruiser. The other thing is Lexus people usually treat their vehicles a little better. So this was like maintained at the Lexus dealership. It was taken in, had all its service, oil changes, Lexus repairs, maintenance. Probably nobody drove this off-road ever. So you kind of get what was originally a more expensive vehicle, the same vehicle as a Toyota Land Cruiser, a little bit nicer, a little bit quieter, a little bit nicer audio system. And yeah, there's very few downsides except that it doesn't say Land Cruiser on it. So I did, again, really want the Land Cruiser, but all of those things kind of contributed into me saying like, you know what, an LX 570 would be cool. So that's a little bit of the backstory on kind of LX 570, Land Cruiser, whatever. These are kind of coming down in price point now to where they're going to become more, you're probably going to see more of them kind of in the Overland community or whatever. It's kind of happening with the GXs right now, which are about half the price of the LX. But as the years go on and the LXs continue to get older relatively, then they're gonna get cheaper, and you get a really, really awesome Land Cruiser that has so much comfort, all the power you need, bunch of amenities, and is just tried and tested and proven throughout the world. So that's what I wanted, a modern-ish Land Cruiser. And that's why I have the 2010 Lexus LX 570. So I'm going to show you some features. I'm going to show you some quirks and features. Not really. I'm just going to show you some features. Actually, I'll probably show you some quirks as well of the LX 570. You chime in down below as well. Comment. I know people are going to say, build it out into an Overland rig. So this is a daily driver, like I mentioned. I live in the mountains of Colorado. I wanted an all-wheel drive vehicle, which this is, because all-wheel drives do great in the snow, and I wanted a vehicle that will seat a bunch and will be comfortable and be safe for when Ashley needs to drive it. If she needs to drive Isabella and a bunch of friends around or whatever. This is an 8-passenger vehicle, technically. So it checks some of those daily driver boxes. Now I got a rack and some wheels and stuff on it. Maybe I'll do a little bit more. I don't know, but let me know down below. But let's go ahead and get into it. So here it is in the driveway with the Jayco Swift Class B video. My last video with this, gonna be posting probably very soon, within a week. So if you wanna know more about that, that's soon. Also, here's my 80 Series Land Cruiser. I've been doing lots of cool stuff to it. Got the Scheelman seats, building out a rear drawer system, doing a lot of stuff. I'll talk on that later. So here it is. This is a big boy. It's nearly 6,000 pounds, has a 5.7 liter, 8-cylinder engine. It's big and beefy. Right now it's sitting on 33-inch roughly, 32.8-inch technically, tires with no lift. And does it rub? Tiny bit actually, honestly, rubs a tiny bit. So I removed these mud flaps back here, and it rubs a tiny bit. I mean, on pavement it's fine, but if you're going off a curb at the mall or whatever, or off-road, it'll rub a little bit back here and a tiny bit up here. Actually at Twan's shop, we pulled this out, pulled a couple of the screws out, moved that forward a little bit and gained an extra inch or two up here and gained a little bit in the back. But right now this is sitting at normal ride height. I'll get into the different ride height modes a little bit later, but basically you can raise it about 2 inches, and it actually raises another inch in 4 low if it doesn't detect that it's getting enough traction. So an effective 3 inches of lift you can get on this thing, and about 1 inch to 2 inches lowering, and that's primarily used for loading and unloading the vehicle if you want that, but I have that feature turned off. You can, in about 15 minutes for free, do a permanent lift on this thing. They call it a sensor lift that basically gives it a 2-inch lift and maintains all of that fancy hydraulic lift component stuff. People are like, why didn't you do that? I might, I don't know. I might, but again, this is a daily, this isn't an off-road rig, so the lower height rides a little better, gets a little better gas mileage, a little easier to get it in and out of. So right now, sitting at stock height with just a little bit of perfect, delicious tasteful offset. What we have on here right now are the Black Rhino Rapids wheels. This is a 17-inch wheel, so it's nice. Has some chunky sidewalls. You won't see much of that on the Lexus LX 570s. They come with like 20s, 21s, 22s, or whatever. And actually, Toyo is sending me out a set of snow tires, but they're back-ordered a bit, so they said, hey, how about we send you these until we get there? Because again, mountains of Colorado, I want a dedicated snow tire on my all-wheel drive daily mountain car. But for now, we have the Toyo Open Country AT3s on here. This is their all-terrain open country tire. It is snowflake rated. It's not a bad tire in the snow for an all-terrain tire, but all-terrain tires will never do as good as a dedicated snow tire. The sizing specifically on here is the, let's see if you can see it here, LT. It's 285, 70R17, which comes out to roughly 32.8 inches. So those are the tires I have on there. And then I also de-chromed everything. The Lexuses come with a lot of chrome. This whole thing is chrome. These are chrome. This is chrome. That's chrome. This is chrome. That's chrome. This is chrome. Chrome, chrome. It actually comes with some side things that I pulled off. Maybe I'll show a little bit of clips of that. And then I de-chromed the grill up here as well. And the only chrome left on it is right here. So I am gonna actually try out a set of KC G4 LED fog lights because the mounting and the wiring looks the same as it does on the Tacoma. So I'll report back on if those fit in there, but I figured I would leave that dechroming job for another day. But yeah, that's that. It has like auto turning. It has the headlights that like turn when you turn the wheel, which actually I kind of like. Has little washers for the lights, has a front camera. This system actually 2010 has a 270-degree camera system. So not 360 degrees, but it basically is camera front, rear, and this side of the vehicle. So that's pretty cool. It's dirty, you know. Again, I don't clean my vehicles enough. And then we got a front runner slimline 2 rack on here. So this is a big old rack that I can put all kinds of stuff. I've already transported some plywood and whatnot. No rooftop tent, anything like that, but a full front runner rack system that replaced the factory racks. The other thing on the LX is the rack system is less usable. It's like from here to here, whereas the Land Cruiser goes a little bit further from here to there. And then obviously the front runner system is a more full length rack system. Sorry, I just backed into my tripod. So I think it just looks the part, obviously, and is a functional upgrade there. So it's looking very proper. Basically from here, you wouldn't guess that this is a Lexus, like a little bit of differences back there. But this generation looks just like a 2008 all the way up to 2021 Land Cruiser. This gets a little more pointy in the newer LXs. So the nice thing, I don't know if you watch enough of my videos to know this, but this has, you keep the key in your pocket and it has lock and unlock features. Press that to lock it, just touch it on the inside to unlock it. So lock and then unlock. My Tacoma only has that on one door. The Lexus, this 2010 Lexus, has it on every single door, including on the tailgate, so you can lock and unlock from everywhere. And the key also, as you'd expect, has some features. It has remote start, so you like triple tap, I think, or double tap, or I forget what it is, to remote start with that, and then you can automatically open the tailgate, which is nice. I did replace these struts. I replaced a bunch of stuff on this. This wasn't the best maintained LX. It's not bad. There's a few things that I did like about it. And that's one of the big issues that you can have are like radiators, water pumps. Those were replaced relatively recently at a Lexus dealership, no doubt. And the AHC system is the other cause for concern. And that was serviced, a few pieces replaced on that recently too. So this has a lot of little dents and there's a lot of lights out and a lot of little things that I've been kind of updating on it, but some of the main stuff was good. So we have the auto opening here. Actually, oops, got some stuff in here that I picked up from my dad's house, some old piece of plywood that I was using for some of my 80s stuff. I'll show you the interior in a second, but basically we have a power opening and closing tailgate. So you can open it with a key, you can open it with a button up there, but oddly enough, when you open it by hand in the back, it doesn't power open, you manually open it. This is not powered. It's kind of has a soft drop feature, has factory storage in the tailgate, albeit it's pretty small. Has the toolkit on this side. And I did a little thing here, has this little cover, but it has a tailgate, which tailgates are amazing. Every vehicle should have a tailgate. You should have a tailgate. If you don't, you're wrong. And then up here, I did a little hack. Saw this on YouTube actually from Rob Damon, though I went a little bit of a different route. This, I wired in a little button here. So this has a button. This is a KC Cyclone that I had an extra of. So when it's on, actually, when it's on, this will turn on and off when the tailgate opens and closes. The wire I tapped into only gets power when the tailgate is open. And the Cyclone with the switch anyway that I wired in the middle, it's kind of an interesting setup. It's a non-standard setup. I think I filmed a little bit of the install maybe. If I did, I'll toss it in at the video at some point. But basically that casts a bunch of light back here, and I wanted to switch it so I could kind of turn it on and off, but I usually leave it on so it just automatically turns on. So we actually took this out, took the family out, took Isabella to school, and it was dicey out, so I threw some max tracks in there. I didn't end up needing them or anything like that. So another difference between the Land Cruiser and the LX is, while this is all a manual process on the Land Cruiser, it's automated, and I believe you don't get the automatic tailgate on this year of the Land Cruiser anyway. I think they introduced it in some newer years. But basically, you have controls back here to control the seat going down and up. So I'll press this, and this seat will automatically go down and lock into place. This part is manual. You grab this, pull that up, and you have a seat. You flip that up, and same thing on the other side. But then when you go to close it, you bought a nearly $100,000 SUV. You can't be bothered with that. So you press the button, closes, watch yourself, goes down fast, and then we'll manually, oops, press the wrong button. I keep saying manually, will automatically go back up and lock into position. The reason that this is here instead of some of the SUVs kind of tuck them into the seat is because this is an off-road vehicle. So we got a full-size spare underneath, and you can fit a full-size 33-inch spare under there. Sweet. So this is how you get into the back, the third row of seats here. This, and then that, and then in. But we'll put this down so you can kind of take a look at what's going on here. This is reclinable. So this is like a relatively more straight up position right now. You can see that seat is actually reclined a little bit. Hard to do this one-handed, so you won't see this with the camera, but you pull this lever and there are a few modes, and I'll just go full recline here. So at full recline, you can see it is leaned back pretty good. Also, this year's LX got it and the Land Cruiser didn't get it, but there's a little bit of adjustment here in the rear seat. So this is going, let's see if you can see it, going back and forth with this here. And in case your kids need to smoke, we got an ashtray in the back as well. Cup holder, little thing here. There's a lot of things that are like a two-handed process. So to pull this down, you pull this, and then that'll come down. So what we have in here is kind of funny. We have cup holders that pop up there, and then in the back we have a remote, and wireless headphones. We have a pair of wireless headphones. And why do we have that? Because we have a flip down DVD player. I didn't have any DVDs, so we had to actually go buy some so Isabella could watch some DVDs in the back seat. And even though she has an iPad and everything, she absolutely loves watching it on this relatively low resolution screen with her wireless headphones. So the kids will probably like that, even though I see that as pretty dated tech. Isabella was super stoked on it. So from the back here, you can see a good bit of storage space. Honestly, this is one of the longer Plano Sportsman's bins. And this has just got a bunch of winter kit in it. So I have some winter kit videos. This is one of those. So it's just kind of my tub of preparedness items that I keep in here. With these seats down, obviously you don't have as much room back here, but you can fit your groceries and a fair bit of stuff back here still, golf bag, whatever. So the rear seats, this is like a 4-zone climate controlled vehicle, has rear heated seats as well. They can control their own temperature and everything. Down here, some hookups for the DVD player and how to adjust the volume. Nice pockets behind both of the seats here, and nice leather, This vehicle is not new. This has 180,000 miles on it, almost, and it's not in bad shape. It's the gray interior, which I prefer over that tan interior. They've got the wood steering wheel, obviously. You're a baller if you bought this thing new, and you're just, not really a baller if you bought it 11 years old, but, it's an interior of a 2010 luxury vehicle. Nothing too great. Has the moonroof up there. Has nice vents all around, actually floor and ceiling vents for all of the passengers. So it's really a vehicle that's designed to have everyone pretty comfortable. So over here, everything you'd expect. Does have auto windows on all of them. Has programmable memory seats, which will remember not only the seat position, but also the steering wheel position, I believe. I forget if it adjusts the steering wheel, but it does adjust the mirrors as well. So, for instance, Ashley will have L2, I'll have L1. I hit L1, and it does all my seat adjustments and my mirror adjustments. I kind of forget if it does steering wheel. And then Ashley can press L2, and it gets her mirrors adjusted and everything. Not that mirror, but the side mirrors. And gets it nice and comfortable. A bunch of adjustment, as you'd expect from a luxury vehicle here. And yeah, seats aren't bad. And then a good bit of map pocket storage here. So I don't have this thing super dialed for all my stuff. I just have some random tools in this little pouch and a fire extinguisher, some pepper spray, because I carry a gun always. But my saying is, not everyone needs a bullet, so pepper spray is a good backup option. So I'll get in here. The steering wheel is adjusting itself right now. Close this so it doesn't beep at me too much. I haven't actually started the vehicle, so we have a couple lights on in the dash that aren't normally on. But here you can see it's actually not a bad looking gauge cluster for what it is. It's I kind of like it. Has some other features over here. Auto closing, so these will close on the side or not. I have them on not auto. I'm reduce wear and tear. I don't need them to close. But if you want to close them, you can, and that'll close right up. Some other buttons here. This is the button that adjusts that auto height system I was talking about. So if that is on, then your car will lower every time it stops an inch or two. I think this is the headlight adjustment, and this is the rear hatch opener. This is the 270 camera view here. So if I press that button, it'll show you this kind of weird 270 view of what's going on. My cameras are actually super dirty and covered in salt right now. So this is the front camera and the side camera and whatever. You can kind of switch between, I think, the rear camera and whatnot. I honestly haven't used that a whole lot. So this is showing the front right corner of it. And this is just the front. and that's both. And then you go back. This screen is pretty dated. It's a decent sized screen. It's like a 7 or 8 inch screen, but I mean all the controls and stuff are pretty dated. Oops. So I usually just Bluetooth. My phone will automatically connect, but I don't have it on me right now. Climate control again. We have like the 4-zone climate control. It's actually really nice. Has map, info, display, setup. You can change some settings, all that stuff. Dual zone climate control, temperature adjustment here. You know, just DVD or CD player. Does have heated and cooled seats for the driver and the passengers, though both of those are honestly pretty weak systems. Power, ECT, and second. So power is basically just will shift a little more aggressively, let it rev up a little more. Second is a button that you can use in slick conditions where it won't go to first gear. So you'll start from a stop in second gear, so it's not as torquey. I never really used those. This is all the adjustment here for your 4-wheel drive, high or low. Has like the little crawl control type features, so that'll adjust the speed here. This is your leveling, so high mode or low mode or off if you need to service it, put it up on a jack or whatever so the hydraulics don't freak out. And then the other thing that you get here is comfort, regular, or sport mode. I actually drive in comfort most of the time, honestly. Super cushy, comfortable, like you're riding in a Bentley or Cadillac or something, just floats over everything. But if you want to tighten the suspension up for driving on some windy roads or whatever, you can tighten that up. This is a little 3D printed thing that I designed real quick on my iPad and printed out as a sample, and basically because there's not good cup holders, so I sized this perfectly for a Nalgene. So my Nalgene, boom, perfectly right into there. This is kind of a standard, and I signed this originally to a small Red Bull can size because Ashley loves her Red Bulls, and I made it a tiny bit bigger so it'll fit these other drinks that I really like called Rebel or something. Cool drinks. And so anyways, those cup holders are there, but you can still access some stuff like the cigarette lighter if you need to. And then I just put a little compartment up here, holds some chapstick, flashlights, cards, whatever. So that was something I just mocked up real quick because I wanted to. So added some cup holders. It does have cup holders. This thing is kind of on its last legs, I think, but it has this cup holder. I took this out, so I kind of was just using this for storage, really, because I didn't need those cup holders anymore. And then this over here slides, so you can adjust each armrest if you want it out a little further or in a little further. And then in here is controversial, but it is a cool box. So I actually have a little storage compartment up here. This one says Land Cruiser on it even. Get out of here. Land Cruiser, look at that. So a little storage, so you can use this above the cool box and get some usable storage in your center console. And then this is huge. This will fit like a full bottle of wine or champagne because you're a baller, obviously. So this is very deep storage, but if you're looking for a bigger center console like you have without the cool box, you're not going to find it here. But this is basically a center console cooler, which I have loved in the Ford, so I like it in this as well. And it doesn't kill all of your storage space. If it's off, it's just you can use it as storage or whatever. So that's there. I don't know what else to know. You know, it's got some other features, sunglasses, home link, moonroof power, all the stuff you'd expect. No great place to put your phone or whatever, so I have it here, and this is just some little mount I bought on Amazon. It's actually been holding up really well so far, but maybe I'll look into some cool 67 designs or something mount for this. I did also swap all of the lights, including the headlights, interior lights, dome lights, step lights. It also has little puddle lights underneath, which they're not on right now. They turn on when you lock or unlock the door. Interior lights, all to LEDs, which is much improved now. This one wasn't working. I tracked down the wires a bunch. You can see right here, it's daytime right now. It's daytime, so you can probably see how bright this is. While I was tracking down the wiring to fix that, I was like, why don't I just add another KC Cyclone. So I put a KC Cyclone up there for underlighting, basically. So now what we have, we'll lock it. Can't lock it because this is still open. Let's close that. Power, nice. So we'll lock it and that'll go off. It doesn't actually flicker like that. That's just LED frequency kind of stuff. It dims and brightens. So to the naked eye, it just looks like a smooth flicker. And then as you approach the car, it'll turn on. So that's kind of nice. And then when you unlock the car, actually when you approach the car, the puddle lights turn on as well. So you have a bunch of really nice illumination as you approach the car. And then obviously it'll unlock once you touch it. So, man, been absolutely loving this car. Like, love this car. I think if I had just like one vehicle, I would do a full Overland build of a 200 series Land Cruiser or the LX 570. So the AHC, you can rip that stuff out and put a normal lift on it. Like, that's possible, totally doable. But the AHC is like such an advanced suspension system. It almost feels like a waste to rip it out. But if you wanted to, if you're like, oh, I want to do long travel or whatever suspension, you can still do that on this. It's just a little more, you got to rip a few more things out than you would on a regular 200 series Land Cruiser. So real quick, let me put this on a tripod and then I'll show you this thing raising and lowering. All right, so here we are. I don't know how much of this noise is gonna pick up. It's a cold start, so the engine's revving a little higher to heat up because it's cold out as well. But right now I'm in normal mode. I'll go up into high mode. The raising of the system takes quite a bit longer than the lowering of it, so I may speed this up a little bit, but I'm gonna kick it into high mode right now, and here we go. It raises the back first. And then we're in high mode, so I'll kind of show you the additional lift on here. So I'm sure you can tell, obviously, now it looks, basically, this is the equivalent of roughly a 2-inch lifted 200 series Land Cruiser. Looks pretty awesome, honestly, and this will allow you to run a little bit bigger tires if you want. So again, you can do what's called a sensor lift and basically lock this height into place, and we'll still go up from there and down from there, but I haven't done that. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Now let's go into low mode. So we'll kick it back into normal mode. You can see that dropped pretty quick, obviously. And then now we'll drop it into slammed lowrider mode. So all the way down. So in this mode, you can see this front is basically tucked up in here. So these modes, just a quick thing on them is they're not permanent. Again, the low mode is basically for loading and unloading the vehicle. It'll always return back to normal height once you start driving. So I think it stays in low mode. You can set it a few different ways, but I think no matter what, it'll return back to normal height mode at like 7 miles per hour or something like that. In high mode, you can drive a little faster. I think it returns back to normal at like 25 miles an hour. That's kind of a bummer. It'd be cool if you could just set a mode and it would leave it like that until you change it. But for one reason or another, there's not really a solution to that. There's basically a full-time lift or not that you can do. And there are a few other things like set it in the mode you want and then pull a fuse or cut a wire. I mean, there's a bunch of different things you can do. And then it basically stays at that mode, but then you lose all of the fancy features that the AHC really offers you, which are worth having. So I wouldn't lock it into a mode. Again, the main thing I might do is do a sensor lift. Doing a sensor lift does put a little more strain on your hydraulic components and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily something I want to do. Again, since this is a daily, it feels like full-time overland rig. Maybe I would, or maybe I'll slam it. put it on some 24s. But yeah, that's a little bit of the awesomeness that is the LX 570. Love this vehicle. Love it. I love all Land Cruisers, but this is just nice. I would love if Toyota brought the 300 series Land Cruiser over here, because I definitely like the styling of that over the LX 600, which is the current iteration of Lexus's LX that is coming to the States. So right now the Land Cruiser's done in the US. Will they bring it back? Maybe, hopefully, probably, I don't know. But it did not sell well here, but the LX sold better. So they're basically bringing the LX back to the US in the form of the LX 600, which they shed like 500 pounds. They added like 100 horsepower, 100 foot-pounds of torque. It's cool. Super luxury, super expensive. I won't be buying one because I can't afford one. And the main area that they really dropped the ball is the 300 series Land Cruiser, as well as the LX 600 no longer have a tailgate. What an epic fail. But everything else of the vehicle seems cool. So anyways, this is the LX 570. Hopefully that was a pretty deep dive. I think this video is going to be pretty long for you to kind of get a feel for the vehicle. Some tasteful modifications. Again, if you're looking to spice up your LX, 32.8 roughly will fit. You will get a little bit of rubbing. You'll have to massage the fenders and the mud flaps a little bit, or do a sensor lift. Front runner roof rack, awesome. Awesome up here. Such a sweet rig. Love driving this thing. If you have questions, ask them below. If you want me to do stuff to this thing, tell me below. And until next time, guys, take care. So actually, I got done filming the video and realized I probably left out a lot of stuff for people that aren't that familiar with Land Cruisers or LX 570s for that matter. What makes these the most legendary vehicles in the world ever, of all time, honestly, is that they're really built to last 25 years in the harshest conditions without any major repairs. So the 5.7 liter is similar to what's in the Tundra. Some people call that the million-mile engine because it just goes forever if you take care of it. But it's actually not quite the same. So the Tundra is not built to the same spec as the Land Cruiser, even though on paper the engines are very similar. This one is built in Japan, the LX and the Land Cruiser. And they basically, they put the engine, they pour it, and then they run it through an MRI, make sure there's no bubbles or whatever and that kind of stuff. I've read a few forum posts on this. There's a few people that talk about it in YouTube videos. And so the engines are built to this crazy spec that makes them last forever. That just makes them super robust and bomb-proof. In addition to that, there's a bunch of components, like Toyota and Lexus are kind of famous for like reusing a bunch of components across different vehicles. That same bracket for there, and that same bracket for there, and that same bracket for there. Spend a little bit of time on YouTube and you'll find that the Land Cruiser is just overbuilt with its own components that are only used on the Land Cruiser all over this thing. Like, that's why this thing weighs 6,000 pounds, because the frame and the axles and the transmission and the drive lines and everything are just built to handle abuse forever. So you get a vehicle like this, it's 11 years into its life, it's 180,000 miles into its life. It's not even halfway through its life, right? Especially if this thing was just like babied by a Lexus owner. So I love that. It's, do I need a vehicle that I can just abuse and tear apart and not worry that it'll ever fail me? I don't know that that's necessarily a need, but it's definitely a want. So yeah, Land Cruisers, LX 570s, nice.